Mel, everybody, I'm Livestream Cat. Hey, everybody, welcome to the live stream here today. I don't even know what I want to start with here. I have a bunch of tabs open here. I'm going to close down some of these because they're extremely distracting. And we can start with the usual. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for waiting. I have been doing a lot of videos today, so my voice might be a little bit tired. I think I did like a members request video. Somehow got a dislike for some reason. I don't know, like maybe somebody didn't like that I chart request. But anyway, did a little bit of a request video. Did 3 different videos talking about my portfolio, what I'm doing with what I have, what I'm buying, and also what I'm watching. So feel free to watch. I also did a little bit of a live stream with the Great Maspy here talking about crypto. Because I'm sure on the weekend they're dumping Bitcoin. Everybody's probably all scared. So I just got on live stream, just talking to the Great Maspy here for a little bit. Now I'm gonna just get on my usual live stream here for my members. If you guys have any requests, please feel free to throw them out because I've been doing these members request videos throughout the week. I have decompressed all the requests and I have no requests so far. So feel free to jump on and let me know if there's something you want me to check out. I'll also talk a little bit about like the Bitcoin price action, talk a little bit about Ethereum, top miners, do the usual, but I'm going to start out here with the macro. There is no other place to start than to talk about the S&P 500. Oh, hymns. Well, welcome, Margin Call. Yeah, so I'm talking about hymns here. And as you can see, the S&P 500 on daily chart has been following my daily Gann chart here pretty well, right? Just bouncing off one area to another area. Well, hello, Vivian. Welcome again. And it's basically just bouncing off of this horizontal area here. Got close to being rejected here and came back down close to testing the arc over here and bounced, right? Well, you do have a little bit of a concern here. Why do you have a concern? Well, first of all, you have a little bit of high volume bearish engulfing candle here. Somebody wanted to play some tricks on us. Wanted to say that this is a little bit of a I'm going to drop down all these requests here just for you. Anyway, so you got a bearish engulfing candle here on high volume. It does put a probability that it could go down and grab some additional liquidity, scare the market here a little bit more before going up higher. There are a few areas that it can go to. It can go back to the top of the arc over here, go back down underneath 600 temporarily. It could go all the way down here to the bottom of the arc. That's also a possibility, right? Or it can kind of go somewhere in the middle here, which is going to be where the daily Ichimoku cloud is at right there, right? But I do think that this opened up a possibility of a early week flush, maybe for like a couple days, got everybody all scared, resetting some sentiment here before going up. I still think that the daily katana here on the daily chart here, I still think the daily katana here is playing out, but sometimes it can go back down, even back to the kitchen down here, the red line before going up higher. Certainly can back test the cloud, right? Yeah, so I'm seeing a little bit of potential weakness here. It looks like they want to really rug pull, especially on Friday when they just kind of released the whole tariff news. I mean, I just think that it's very, very well timed and just getting you primed for a little bit of a gap down Monday. So be prepared. Don't be irresponsible. Just something that I'm kind of keeping an eye on here. QQQ also have a little bit of a bearish engulfing candle here on high volume. Right at the daily Tenkan here is finding support here so far, but you could potentially flush, right? Because the S&P 500 also is looking like it could flush. So just be a little bit aware, it could go to the kitchen down here below and it still wouldn't be that scary. So I just wanted to kind of anticipate maybe a little bit of like an early weakness here on the indexes, right? IWM also got rejected here. Actually, it initially looked like a very vulnerable spot where it could potentially push for the cloud and just go higher, but they're not ready for it yet. They're just not ready for it yet. Over the last few weeks on this daily chart, you can see how the S&P 500 is just kind of going sideways like that. Even from here, S&P 500 kind of going sideways a little bit higher. QQQ kind of going sideways over here. IWM actually looks like it's just been going up here over the last, couple of months after this big giant flush down. So actually, there looks like the IWM may be catching a bid here. I don't necessarily think that this gap down here is going to have to close. It could if they end up flushing all the way down. The gap close would be somewhere around like 220. That could be a possibility if they end up wanting to flush it down. Again, same thing, right? Bearish engulfing candle and high volume. Maybe a little bit of early week flush. Be prepared for that. That's all I got to say. But overall, it's just even IWM looks a little bit like an inverted head and shoulder pattern to me. So I actually, if it comes back down close to gap, that's not like the end of the world. I'm not really scared. Look at what's outperforming though. ARK Fund, ARKK, Cathie Woods outperforming. It didn't even have a bearish engulfing candle. The selling volume wasn't even that great, right? So yeah, what gives? If this is like that scary, why is ARK actually doing some relative outperformance here? It's just something for you to kind of think about, right? Even if you look at the monthly, just give you an idea how crazy the ARK fund has been. You can just see how the upper Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band is expanding. The 20-month moving average just going up as support. It looks like this thing wants to go higher, right? On top of all that, it also reclaimed very convincingly the 0.382, right? Looks like it wants to gravitate higher. Is it getting closer to resistance? Yes, it is. Does it have a little bit more room to go? Maybe. I see resistance maybe all the way up to like 0.5, $68 and 56 cents. But with the rest of the market looking a little bit weaker, you might end up having a little bit of weakness here, form a little bit of a higher low before further bullish continuation, and that's not anything bad if it ends up happening that way. You still have Tenkan and Kishin down here below, a little bit extended away from the Tenkan. I just don't know whether or not it's going to go up that far, that fast. It might hit the cloud here, or it might just kind of come back test the 0.382 here again before some further bullish continuation. It could even come back all the way down to the Tenkan and Kishin in the 50s. Although I don't think it has to. It's showing a lot of relative strength here. The US dollar still following up this macrophone pattern here. So far for the month of January, it did nothing. It just touched up apart here. Got everybody all scared. Is a doji candle. It could be bullish continuation or it could be reversal. Nobody really knows. We'll see. If I follow this pattern over here, then most likely it's going to drop back down, right? Because it's at a microphone resistance. So we'll see what happens. Look at the semiconductor stocks here. I think it's showing a lot of relative weakness. It got hugely rejected here about the ARK. Initially I was hoping that I wouldn't be right. I ended up allocating some money away from the semiconductor exposure. And certainly it looks like it's just stuck in a range right now. It's been stuck in a range for about 8 months now. We'll see what the 9 months show. I think there might be a little bit more weakness here. Maybe grab liquidity down here below before further bullish continuation. Certainly looks like that's a possibility. I can show you the NVDA chart here in a little bit as to why I think that is. But yeah, there's some weakness here. And also you have like a high volume rejection off the 21272 as well as the top of the ARK here. Came back down, back to the bottom of the ARK. Looks like holding so far. We'll see what the market makers have ready for us on Monday and for next week, but we might have to wait until maybe closer to like middle February before things really become more bullish. Maybe the beginning of February would be they show a little bit weakness. We'll see. It's just unfortunate you got like a high volume rejection candle here. So we'll keep watching it and see what it kind of does. VIX really hasn't gotten above consistently above 20, even though with like Friday's scary tariff news, you only have VIX still kind of getting stuck down here. I mean, again, it got rejected here at Ichimoku, but it's still kind of stuck here in the middle, a little bit trendless here. Could next week pop? It can. It could pop all the way up to like the high 20s potentially if things turn out to be pretty volatile here, which you might be setting up for that. We'll see. Right, 2-year yields still look pretty weak. I'm going to turn off the lock here. 2-year yields still look kind of weak. You can say, oh, this is a bull flag, right? You can say that. But it's also still underneath the Tenkan and Kitchen here. You had a bearish cross. It's still underneath resistance. It's also underneath the 20-month moving average. So 2 years still pretty weak. 10 years got pretty close and pretty bearish candle here. It looks a little bit like a inverted hammer. You can call it that. You can call it gravestone doji. You can call it what is it? There's another name. So you can go like a shooting star type pattern. It's showing a little bit of weakness here. So I don't necessarily believe that the 10 years is going to keep shooting up, despite the fact that there's going to be some inflation scare, tariff scare, things like that. And also the fact that last time when Jerome Powell and the Fed cut rates, it was in September. As soon as they cut rates, 10-year just shot up way high, right? As soon as they start cutting rates, 10 years just went up way high. Why is that? Well, because the 10-year has been going down 5 months in a row, right? Now that they're holding rates where it is, they didn't cut rates. You've already gone up. The rates already gone up for like 3-4 months straight in a row, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if 10-year ends up dropping, especially on like the tariff news, where it was like very, very well time released and things like that. I just don't know whether or not I really necessarily buy that. We addressed the coin level here, and I've talked a little bit about what I think about Coinbase here. Welcome to everyone. The question is, am I planning on having a 25% tariff for all subscribers? Well, it depends on if I'm charging a tariff, that basically means that I'm not contributing to anything. I'm just taking tariffs from somebody else's work. That's not my style. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to something else. But I just want to show you the M2 money supply is still going up, right? It did end up decelerated here around December here a little bit, but sometimes it can just be temporary, right? Chinese liquidity is still going up, right? So I actually don't really see that big of a concern overall. Even oil still look very weak. It just looks like a dead Cantonese bounce over and over again. And like last month, it closed with inverted hammer candle here. It looks like inflation shouldn't be a problem. It really looks like inflation shouldn't be a problem. So those are kind of like the big macro thoughts. I do want to talk about NVIDIA here before I move on to a couple of chart requests. But NVIDIA, high volume sell off candle for the month of January, right? Not great, not great here. I'm gonna make this a log scale here. Not the greatest look to have a high volume red candle. It does favor maybe a little bit more bearish continuation here, which is not the greatest thing to do. But that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm seeing, right? I lost my GAN here. I think I probably erased it. Let me see if I can troll that back here real quick. I don't even remember the exact perimeter, but I'm going to do my best. I think it's like 720 and 5, I want to say. 720. Come on, man. Come on, cats. You can do it, cats. 725. Yeah, exactly. I memorized these scan numbers like the back of my mind here. As you can see that these perimeters give you a very, very good symmetry here, where it's been pushing above the arc up here, got rejected here at the top, got close to arc over here, didn't really quite make it. Did I have the candle here? Yeah, that's a great pivot there to look at. Yeah, you can see how it pushed through it got supported here at the horizontal, pushed through the arc, went to horizontal, came back, got close to the arc here, pushed through, right? And it went up to the next level here. Interesting thing here is it pushed through the arc, it got rejected to the 2.272. And actually, this looks like it's just back tested the arc over here. So does it have to back test it again? Maybe, maybe not. It can certainly wick down underneath below this arc over here next week to start the month, if it decides to do so, right? Because you do have a little bit of high volume, red candle here. It could end up wicking down below this arc here, but basically we have pushed for the arc, got rejected 2.272 and back test the arc. This is not bearish, right? You can see how the arc here means something. You see how the arc here means something. Got closer back test the arc here, didn't really end up doing that, just decided to push through and ran over, back tested it. What does it mean if this support level ends up being holding, right? What does it mean? Well, it would mean that it could end up gravitating up here to the next level, right? Because last time when it pushed through and back tested the arc, it went up to the next horizontal level here. It could still go up to 350. Does it have to? I don't know. Let's see if it pushed about the 2.272. 2.272 is generally a very, very strong resistance level. There are a lot of like bull cycles, like the Dogecoin cycle in 2020, 21 as well. The Bitcoin bull cycle of 2015, 2017, they all end at the 2.272 fit level, right? So there is a reason for me to get a little bit more cautious up here, but we are finding support. So I am not sure what to make out of it. You are having a little bit of a late cycle behavior in terms of Bollinger Band contraction as opposed to expansion. Expansion is like early phase. Contraction is a little bit of a late phase, but you can still make another leg up like it did over here, like it did over here, even with the presence of the contraction. So those are kind of my initial thoughts here. Now, you can also see, in addition to backtesting the GAN ARC, it also backtested the rising Tenkan, the blue line over here, perfectly, right? It's just a lot of confluence support. So it could wick below. It can always wick below on the weekly chart here. It could wick below on the monthly. On the weekly, it can come back and backtest 110, right? Which is the level that the Great MASB is also looking at, because it's right there on the cloud, right, on the weekly cloud. Does it have to do that? Does NVIDIA have a behavior of doing that? Not necessarily. Sometimes just kind of skip the clouds. Like, nope, never mind, not touching it, going up way higher, right? But right now, we did end up breaking down underneath the Kijun here. So the top of the cloud here is possible. I'm just going to say the top of the cloud is possible. It could also, all of this stuff over here, because there's a declining volume over here and bears push this gap this down here. And because I just show you that right now we just bounced on some very important support, right? Like the GAN ARC, like the monthly Tenkan, there is a potential that this could just be an island reversal, right? Gap down, bears try to push down a lot further, but they're not able to, right? And next thing you know, you find support here and bears get tired. Next thing you know, you have a gap up and then form an island over here, right? I still think that's a possibility for NVIDIA. I just don't know. I'm a little bit uneasy in terms of what could happen next Monday, just because they seem like they're trying to time this like whole tariff news on us. So we'll see what happens here, but I do see a potential for it to be an island gap. Some people are saying, "Oh, this looks like a bear flag." I mean, it's always a bear flag before it's not. Like, this looks like a bear flag here. This looks like a bear flag here. Whatever. I don't really buy into the whole notion of bear flags, but you do have a big giant gap up here. I think it'll get filled at some point, sooner or later. If you are talking a potential lick down, that's always possible. I'm just telling you different possibilities here. That's all. Right. And that's what I thought about NVIDIA. And I think that's going to have some pretty important implications for the overall market as well. Let's talk about some of your chart requests here. First one is HIMS, where we have Margin Call, who is upset that he's only allocating this to 3% of his portfolio. While it's 3% now, it could be 30% later if everything ends up plummeting and the stock just keeps on going up, right? That's a lame joke. I'm sorry. I'm going to pull up the monthly chart here. You can see how amazing this bull trend is becoming, very exponential, kind of like pound here. Now, with that said, you are maybe running a lot out of fume here because you are having a little bit of decline volume here. That doesn't scare me. Bollinger Band is expanding like crazy. You looking for the expanded 10%? I can totally see that. It's just like popping a pill that they sell. I think it's entirely possible. You don't want like Ozempic because you don't want the contraction. You want the expansion, right? So maybe the other pills that they sell. Anyway, upper Bollinger Band continues to expand. Lower Bollinger Band continues to go down. Very, very nice bull trend here. Very parabolic. This thing can just keep going, and nobody really knows where the top is going to be. If anybody's trying to call a top of this thing, they're doing it wrong. It could end up getting. You see how initially it was at the 1.4 and 4 rejection here, right? Came back down, grabbed liquidity down below, initially have a little bit of a false breakdown underneath the previous all-time high here, have a few wicks down here below. Found significant demand here from the previous all-time high, right? Also, it's just back testing this breakout zone over here. Next thing you know, I have some pretty decent volume candle push above. Looks like it wants to hit the 1.618. Looks like it wants to hit the 1.618. And it's also expanding even the weekly Bollinger Band on the way up there. So it looks like it wants to hit that. That might be a strong resistance level there. If it doesn't get rejected there, then the 1.236 on the lock scale, on the lock fibs, around $43 could be a pretty important resistance zone there as well. You see how like this, if you do a log scale, how it just came back tested 0.86, and it found perfect support, right? So it could gravitate up here to 43 bucks, or it could gravitate if you don't like log scale. If it decides to stop prematurely, then it could be the 1.618, which is $39.42. That's going to be the next level. Does it have enough juice to push through? Yeah, got enough volume kind of pushing through up here. The rest of the stuff is useless. I can put like Ichimoku, all that stuff. Like it's not going to be helpful. It's a pretty healthy bull trend because it's riding up the Tenkan. It's just basically pushing back test the Tenkan. It's finding support. It's just decided to bounce. A pretty healthy bull trend. So I expect further bullish continuation. Now the other thing to look at would be RSI. You see any bearish divergence on the monthly? The answer is no. On the weekly, maybe a little bit, right? But things can keep going up on bearish divergence, as you see here. Things just kept on going up on bearish divergence. It doesn't care. I think it will have the ability to reach some of the higher targets above, and we'll see how it reacts up there, right? That's HIMS. The other one that you asked about is Robinhood. Honestly, Robinhood looks very, very similar to HIMS. There's really not much of a big difference here between the two stocks because they're both very parabolic. The only difference is Hood is a little bit more overextended above the Tenkan here compared to the HIMS chart here. Now, Margin Core, you asked me another question here. First of all, I think the initiative to bring back to the U.S. manufactured farm is helping HIMS. Yes, that certainly can be. I guess when it gets to 40 or so, it could retrace to 0.682. It's possible, but the trend is just so parabolic. I just don't know whether or not it's going to happen. Like generally, it doesn't. Things just don't just plummet down whenever you're on a parabolic bull trend. Whenever you have a monthly Bollinger expansion, it doesn't just like plummet down, right? Like V-shape crash is actually quite rare, right? It would probably end up hovering around. Like down here is fair game, right? Because there's no trend. It's just going ranging, right? But up here you have such a strong trend, and it's already back tested a lot of the support level down below here. So I don't think it necessarily have to come back down to the teens and 40s or whatever. I think you just keep going here for a long time until you start to see the Bollinger Band contraction and all that. Like I just don't think that it has to do that. Same thing with Hood. Again, I think Hood is a little bit more overextended than HIMS. Hood actually broke the 0.786 like it's butter. Like they didn't even care it was there. It's got a bullish engulfing candle too. Looks like it wants some further bullish continuation. I guess it's going to go to 0.86 next, like at $63.74. If this is not like a fake breakout, if it's a fake breakout, it can break down and try to back test some things down below. Whereas it got things to support here. You got the Tenkan up here, which is closer to around 44, 45 bucks. You got the bonus support band, which is going to close down to this arc around 36. I really don't think it's going to come back down, back test any of this stuff. Super Ichi, Tengen Kitchen going up there. I just don't know whether or not it's just going to have to come back and back test things. If it does, yeah, it can come back all the way down to 35 and there's still going to be a bull trend. But if you're looking at the RSI, I'm not seeing any bearish diversions. I'm not seeing anything concerning. On the monthly, it just looks like it's just going straight up. So I don't know. On the Bollinger Band is a little bit overextended, just like what the Tenkan is showing you, but things can stay overextended for a very long time. The low Bollinger Band just doesn't care. It's just going to the negatives. It's a very powerful bull trend. It doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to have like these 20, 30% move up and down here on the way up, but it's just such a parabolic bull trend. I'm going to stay bullish on it. I have a position. My cost average is like 12 bucks. I don't care. I'm just going to keep holding. I'm not buying. There's no reason for me to buy right there. Yeah, it's somewhat related to BTC, and if Dogecoin ends up pumping, you bet your butt that they're gonna sell Dogecoin. It's really at a very, very great. How do you say that? It's really at a very, very great advantage in terms of the position that is in right now. Coinbase. Some people ask me if I prefer coin over MSTR at this stage of the market, and the answer is yes. I prefer coin over MSTR. Do I think it's bullish? Yes, I think it's bullish. Do I have a position in CoinL, which is 2x coin? Yes, I do. The question about coin is more about support levels. Let me see. Yeah, so what price do I think support level, and when do I think it would break out? And the answer to that in terms of when it's going to break out is nobody knows. But if you want support level, we just backtest the support level here 2 months in a row, right? At the Tenkan on the monthly here. So this is $247.84. We backtested it twice and we're holding. Could it end up plummeting down below that again? Maybe. We have an inside candle here, which is not a bad thing, right? But can it plummet down further and you might need to find some other support level? Certainly can. What are some of the support levels down below here? Well, you just bounced off the 0.786 here and backtest this zone over here from resistance over here as support, right? You also just bounce off this Gann arc over here, which is also going to be around the 250s, 240s, somewhere around there. You also bounce out of Buran support band, which is rising, by the way. So right now, the Buran support is going to be in 260s next week. You have a huge confluent support zone down here. So if you end up having price, instead of having further bullish continuation, you end up having price further retrace down. That area over here around 230, 240, 250s, or even 260s, that's a huge range, by the way. But those would be, to me, would be a very strong support level to pay attention to. So I would say that I like where Coinbase is at right now. When is it going to break out? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's right now, if you're looking at the altcoin market, like they've really just Bitcoin's stuck in range. I think Bitcoin dominance is maybe shifting a little bit, but it could take like a few months for Bitcoin dominance to really kind of shift. I don't know where Coinbase is going to start mooning, but I think it might be potentially if Coinbase is following the Palantir strategy, not MicroStrategy, but if Coinbase is following the Palantir strategy, and if it's really doing this thing where it is pushing through after a big giant cup that it formed, right? Big giant cup here, right? Big giant cup. After it get resistance up here, came back tested both the Tenkan and Kijun, and just break above both of them, and then back test the Tenkan here again. It did that here, didn't it? Big giant cup here, broke underneath the Tenkan and back tested Tenkan and Kijun, right? Broke back above, back tested Tenkan over here for 3 months in a row. Here so far, back testing 2 months in a row. And on the 4th month, it just went parabolic. I wonder if the same thing's going to happen here with Coinbase, if you believe in like the whole fractal kind of thing, which I think it's setting up to be that way. So I don't know if February is going to be the month, actually. If you have another extra month, maybe it's March. But you also back tested it twice, like Palantir back tested it twice, right? On the 2nd and 3rd month after the big giant breakout. So maybe we're close. I really don't know. I really don't know. It's anybody's guess here. Christian, you asked about Doge. I was looking at Doge with the Great Masby earlier. Nothing has changed. It's got the same look. Broke about the Tenkan and Kijun on a monthly, is holding good support here. Looks like it wants to go up. This is a market cap. Sorry, I'm going to go with the actual Dogecoin here. It's going to show the same thing, but it's also stuck underneath the monthly cloud here. It's trying to break above the previous all-time high zone over here. It's just having a little bit of a Doge erectile dysfunction, if you will. It's trying to get up there, but it's just hovering around this zone over here, is waiting for more energy, waiting for Bitcoin to break out so it can break out. But it's not breaking out yet. And you can also see that it's been riding up the upper Bollinger Band here as well. This is a very, very strong bull trend, high, low. There's really nothing to get concerned here. I also talked about the fit levels, where it's kind of still getting stuck at between the let me see here. It's getting stuck at here between the 0.786 and 0.618. Back to 0.618 here perfectly. Got rejected 0.786. Is waiting for Dogecoin to come in and save today, I guess. You also have the Buran support band down here below, so it needs to kind of come back down, back test some things. But this is exactly what happened last time here too. You can hear how bored I am about Dogecoin. You can see how the high over here, the low over here, you can see how it's just stuck between the 0.61 and 0.786 here. Stuck here for a few weeks before pushing up. I think the cycle is just slower. You can see how it used the Boomerang support band to kind of push price up a lot higher, right? I'm not making stuff up. There's just a lot of similarities here between these two that that I'm kind of paying attention to. So I think it's going to do some pretty good things here. You want to, yeah, you want to look at FTM. This is Phantom. I don't even know anymore. I think I should look at Phantom USD. I looked at this recently. It's just one of those charts. I'm just like, well, higher high, higher low. It did end up, breaking down underneath the 0.382 here, which is not great. But it's still back testing this whole horizontal zone over here, right? So I'm not really that concerned about it. If you want some other additional findings here, it's kind of a little bit range bound here between the also in between the blood support band is underneath the weekly Ichimoku. If you do a 2-week Ichimoku, it shows you something very interesting here, which basically is kind of getting to the bottom over here. We'll see when it rebounds right there from near the bottom of the 2-week Ichimoku cloud and push through. It got stuck inside a cloud here for a whole year, 2024. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. I wonder if I see anything interesting here in Suppaichi. Same thing, right? You're bouncing at the bottom of the Suppaichi cloud over here. So a lot of confluence in terms of where it's finding support at. Let me see if I pull up some moving averages. It's trying to find support, but it's kind of broken underneath of it. You do have a little bit of a bull trend here. 20s over 50 over 100 still, so I'm going to give bulls a benefit of the doubt here. The reason why you have the bull trend is because it's been making higher highs and higher lows. So that's kind of what I think. I think it's just doing a lot what a lot of altcoins are doing. I actually think that let's see here. Yeah, I actually think that a lot of altcoins are just very much destroyed here on this lick down, but it's still forming, a higher low. So I think that some of the higher targets is probably still going to end up getting met. There's still potential for Phantom to make all-time high because it got really close to 0.786. So if it's able to get back and re-challenge it, then it could hit some of the higher targets up here, which could potentially be like, 15x or 20x. I think it's entirely possible for Phantom. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Let's see. You guys want to talk about Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab. Crazy chart. It reclaimed the 1.414 here. Initially when you have like something parabolic up like this, you expect some retrace, right? But no, you have like a trident bottom over here, tons of demand up here. Came back, grabbed liquidity, couldn't even pass through the zone here. So you end up having a big giant green candle to engulf these candles over here. Coming back, I got rejected at 1.618. Understandably, on a log scale, is it on a log scale? No, on a linear scale. Well, if you look at the log scale, it got rejected at 1.236, right? A lot of confluence regardless. But if you look at the linear scale here, it got rejected at 1.618, finding support at 1.414. Interesting. Why is it doing that? Well, it simply just needed to kind of touch the upper Bollinger Band here. This is the same story for Palantir, for Tesla, and for even XRP right now, right? It's just simply a little bit too far overextended to try and come back and back test something, or at least trying to make sure, hey, I'm tagging you, so I'm way overextended here. So Rocket Lab looks good. The trend is still very much parabolic, right? The low Bollinger Band is all the way down to the negatives. But yeah, are you at a resistance level? Yeah, you're at a resistance level, but you might end up having some further consolidation here. So I think maybe a little bit of opportunity cost here, but I can't say that the trend's over. I can't say that the trend's over. But just be careful whenever things rocket like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles right outside the upper Bollinger Band. Just be careful that it might end up doing like an ASTS. Space stocks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Have to hang out at the satellite here for 5 months. So I think this Rocket Lab actually looks more bullish than ASTS, so I don't think it has to necessarily do that. But just be aware, buyers aware that you're buying things that are a little bit overextended. It could come back and back test 0.76 around $70 and still be bullish, but it doesn't have to. I'm not sure if it wants to. So, woo! Okay, top target this cycle on the on FT. I think I talked a little bit about that. So I think we have touched on all your chart requests here so far. So why don't we talk about Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, and run through the miners here real quick. I might even be able to call the night early, guys. Is it possible? Do I get to call the night early if you guys don't have enough requests for me? Maybe. I was talking about this really great mess. We have three different GANs here. Bitcoin's stuck in range on all three of them. You see how it's stuck in the arc right there. You see how it's stuck in the arc right there. It can break down and it can still get stuck at the angle. But you have a lot of support down here below. You can see how it's stuck in the arc right here, right? No matter how I draw it, it just looks like it's stuck in a range, right? And if I end up switching to the daily here, I'm going to pull up on the daily. You have a little bit of breakdown below the horizontal here. And you did have, basically just stuck in a range between these two arcs, right? Backtest arc here. Push through, got rejected perfectly at the top arc over here. Came back, grab liquidity underneath this horizontal here. Could it go down further? Yes, it can. It can always go down further. How much further can it go? Well, it could go down to the kitchen down here at 99,000. That's entirely possible. If that's the case, you're going to be scared about your altcoins, aren't you? You think that they're just going to bleed against Bitcoin here like crazy, don't you? There's always that possibility. But I think that this is all just a little bit of a shakeout or fake out, whatever you call it. I think altcoins are doing just fine if you don't focus on the short-term price action. If anything, I think that they may be a little bit more of a buying opportunity here, maybe over the next couple of weeks. It can go all the way down to 99,000 and it wouldn't even phase me. This katana here would still be valid because it's just like over here. You have a katana over here, price push up, but you end up getting really close to the kitchen down here, broke down underneath the Tenkan here before things really go parabolic. So this katana here might still work out. The one thing I don't like about this chart, I'll show you what I don't like about it. I don't like the fact it's breaking underneath the 20-day moving average. This opens up the possibility of it going all the way down to a lower Bollinger Band around 96,000. Do I think it's going to do that? Not necessarily, because the 20-day moving average is very much positive sloping. So breaking down underneath doesn't mean that we have to go all the way down to low bullish band. It could just be a little bit of a false breakdown. We'll see, right? They decide to like cut Bitcoin. Initially, I was looking at Bitcoin. I was like, it's got a very, very nice 20-day moving average going up. Probably won't break down it. So far, we're breaking down it a little bit. So what can I do about it? Nothing, right? You can break down underneath a little bit about it, below it, and you don't have to touch the lower Bollinger Band, right? You can potentially break down a little bit below it, and you don't have to touch the lower Bollinger Band, right? You can potentially, you can potentially break down a little bit below it, and you don't have to touch the lower Bollinger Band. Eventually it did, but you don't have to, right? Same thing, you can go down underneath it. You don't have to touch the lower Bollinger Band. I just think that it's possible, but I don't necessarily buy that it has to do that. But I do want to kind of show you some a little bit of warning sign here. Not bad, but before it even has the possibility of doing that, you have support down here below around 99 to 98,000. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here at Bitcoin. Now, with that said, I'm still extremely bullish here on a higher time frame. I'm still extremely bullish because I still think that this GAN over here on the monthly is still valid, because we just backtest this whole arc over here for about a whole half a year like we did over here. And next thing you know, we end up grabbing up to the arc, right? Next thing you know, we can end up grabbing up to the arc around 600,000. No, I don't know. I actually don't know. Or it just ends up stopping short here around 200,000 this cycle. Who knows what's going to do, right? But over a long term, I'm still pretty bullish here on Bitcoin. But in the short term, anything can happen as long as you don't over leverage and get shaken out. None of this really matters. You look at the weekly chart here. I'm going to do a little bit of a different area, chart here. You have the weekly chart here. Look at Ichimoku is finding support here. The Tenkan still. So yeah, the Tenkan up here, blue line up here is on 99,260. And could go down a little bit further. Show it want to do that. But overall, it's still a pretty bullish look. It's just stuck in a range. I'm so bored as I'm talking. Maybe I'm just tired today. I don't know. MicroStrategy also stuck in a range. It looks a little bit weaker than Bitcoin in terms of what it's doing, right? Look at Bitcoin, it's just kind of going sideways. Look at MicroStrategy.
it went a little bit way too far overextended, and now you're getting punished for it. That's all that is. And if you're also looking at the GAN and the FIB levels over here, like initially a few days ago, I was trying to battle the 1.414. So far, it looks like the battle is a lost battle, but it's still an inside candle, so it's hard for me to know, for sure what to make out of it. If I do a monthly kind of thing, you can see how the monthly got rejected here by the 1.414, right? Which sucks. It could end up going back down here to the horizontal line over here. That's entirely possible, right? Or it could go down further to close the gap down here around 280. You can go down further to the arc down here if it ends up breaking below this range. But as far as I'm concerned, it's still just range bound. The upper part of the range is at the 1.618, and the arc over here, the bottom part of the range is at the closer 1.414 and at the horizontal line over here. Can it expand the range and come back down further? Sure, it can, but do I think it has to? Not necessarily. I still think that overall MicroStrategy is going to look okay over time because it's still holding the Tenkan and Kijun here on the monthly perfectly. It's not like over here where the cycle is topped and you just end up using these lines here as resistance for a whole year and just book down underneath to the cloud. Right now, you're basically bouncing from the Tenkan and Kijun on the way up, right? So a little bit of a different behavior between the two. Covering miners, yeah, I'm going to get to them right here real quick. Clean Spark, what is it doing? Got rejected here at the cloud here for the entire year. What do I think about Clean Spark so far? Actually, I'm pretty bullish on Clean Spark at the current spot, right where it is. It's stuck between a range of two things. It's stuck between a range of the bull run support band, which is turning flat, as well as the 100-week moving average. I have no news over the last 5 weeks. I've been seeing this range bound here between the bull run support band and a rising 100-week moving average for a very long time. And it's rising here, right? So you favor bouncing up. And the bull run support band here is flattening, right? So you favor that it could potentially push through back past the support and go higher. But until it does, it's stuck in range. And there's another reason to see that it's definitely seemed to be stuck in range, which is if you end up drawing a little bit of a ascending triangle here. You can already see the ascending triangle without even putting on it. It's consolidating sideways. Right? What else is it doing in addition to it trying to backtest the 100-week moving average? It also is backtesting a little bit of the GAN arc down here too, trying to find some pretty solid grounding before going up. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really that concerned when it comes to Clean Spark. I think that it's got a lot of support levels down below and the resistance level above with deep one support band maybe getting weaker over time. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. It can frustrate you guys for longer, but it is what it is, right? Mara is just kind of stuck in the middle here. I have these silly things that are drawn. I don't know which way it's going to go, but honestly, I think it's going to go up. There are a few reasons I say that. First of all, it's doing something very similar as Clean Spark, where the 100-week moving average seems to be pretty important. You see how it was serving a support here between the two arcs over here, right smack in the middle. And it was able to push price up during the parabolic bull trend of 2020, 2021. Here we're having a little bit of a similar look here where you have 100-week kind of sloping down. And when you get down here as support, it becomes flat, right? And then it just ends up pushing up. Was able to serve temporary support over here until it broke down, serve as resistance over here perfectly, and then broke down again. And then you're able to push through on high volume. And then you've basically just been oscillating over here and trying to backtest the rising 100-week moving average. So far, it looks like it's holding as support. So I think it's going to probably end up pushing up here at some point. This cycle just seems a lot slower than the last cycle. I just don't have a whole lot of reason as to why that is. But sometimes you can just be range bound here for a whole year. It happens. It gets a lot of people really seriously discouraged. The one thing that makes me think that we wouldn't be consolidating that much further anymore is really the volume. Whenever you have price kind of go up like this, you have increasing volume over here. So I think something is happening where they're trying to accumulate even more by pummeling down price down here a little bit more. But there's really not a whole lot of sell volume over here. So, I think it's getting ready pretty soon. When it's going to get ready, I don't know. Bit farms at the bottom of the range, nothing else to say. It's a laggard, nothing else to say. At the bottom of the range on high volume, interesting. Capitulation volume, question mark, interesting, right? CIFR went up a lot, but it was really just kind of back testing the zone where it got broken down underneath, right? Got rejected here at the angle and the horizontal line over here again. What it really needs to do is to push back out to 0.786, but it's not ready yet. Big giant volume candle over here, big giant wick down here below. All these are positive things, but let's hope it has built up enough energy to kind of go back up to 0.786. If you're able to break the 0.786, then you're talking about some pretty crazy stuff. But until then, you're still stuck here. So IREN got close to the angle here. I think it's still looking okay. As far as I'm concerned, this is still a higher low. This is still a higher high compared to that. This is still a higher low compared to that. How low does a higher low get? Nobody really knows. But overall, this is also 0.786, by the way. I can draw that, but it's okay. Let me draw it just to kind of show you. If I do the log. So this is still like the 0.786 here where it got rejected at. It's okay. Come back down, try and grab liquidity down below. Does it have to go all the way down to 0.618 and break down underneath the angle? Not necessarily. You have the angle that can potentially serve as support, although you did break down underneath the support band, which is unfortunate. You still have the weekly Ichimoku cloud here as support too, right? So it's not a bad chart. WULF here, same thing, come back test the arc down here. And also at the same time, also backtest the weekly Ichimoku cloud, right? So because it's relatively outperforming others, come back backtesting support down here at the arc and at the Ichimoku cloud is not a bad thing. Big giant sell volume candle over here. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It says support, so I end up buying support and buying down here around the fours here a little bit more. So we'll see. I talk a little bit about BTBT for my members. I'm not going to go too much into detail here. All I have to say about BTBT is really more on the unbalanced volume front. I just see a lot of bullish diversions that's been building. Last time you have bullish diversion, the price gone down and unbalanced volume goes up, followed by a pretty nice bull trend afterwards, right? Right now, I see price going down, but the unbalanced volume is going up. So building up some bullish diversions. We'll see how far and how long it goes. This is one of those times still buying CORZ. CORZ is a little bit concerning to me. I mean, it did end up finding support here at 2.618 here. But the issue with CORZ, I think, is more to do. Yeah, it's found a low bullish band and bounced off of that, so that's pretty good. The issue with CORZ, I think, is more it broke down underneath the support band, so you might have some repairing that you need to do here. Maybe you need a little bit more bouncy ball here underneath the arc before breaking through the arc. Right, the arc was flipped from resistance, was flipping support over here into resistance. So we might need a little bit more work to kind of try to break above. And the bonus support band also looks like it might be starting to kind of negatively slope here. So we might be a little bit, unfortunate here with CORZ. We'll see. RIOT, initially I was hoping that it was looking like it was going to do that on Friday until the tariff news comes. Looking like it was going to form a very, very nice hammer candle inside the arc here to close the week. But nope. After closing 2 weeks, it broke underneath the arc here again, right? But it just looks like it's been trying to break through the arc here for years, right? The last time it was really staying inside the arc reliably was in 2021. So yeah, unfortunate high volume over here. A lot of stock has changed hands here. I wonder from who to who. I don't know. You tell me. I could keep going, but I'm getting a little bit tired here. And on the miners, I probably didn't sleep well last night, so I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and look at RDW. Looking at RDW. What is this? Redwire Corporation. Interesting. No idea what it is. Ah, I see why you ask me. Whenever I see something parabolic like this, and these things are very hard to chart, if you're looking at the volume, it looks like it just wants to go to outer space. If you look at a Bollinger Band, it looks like it's just a very, very strong bull trend, right? There's no reason to be too bearish here. If you look at Ichimoku, it looks like it's just bouncing off the 10 kitchen. It just wants to keep going higher. So how do you chart something like this, right? I have a members only video that I put out, I think, a couple of weeks ago. What do you do to try to chart something that's just kind of gone parabolic? Well, a few things. One is you're trying to see whether or not it's any important fib level that could be resistance at. You're getting close to one here, 1.236, around $29.35. The alternative one that I sometimes also look at is not necessarily 1.236, but 1.272. That could be $31.91, right? So those are kind of two levels here that are going to be immediately after that to kind of pay attention to. The other thing I guess you can do is you can do again, but there's just not enough price history to really do again here. Third thing I would do is to look at RSI, which put RSI here very much overbought. Doesn't mean that it's not going to keep going higher though. But if you look at a weekly time frame, trying to see if there's any bearish divergence, the answer is yeah, there's some bearish divergence on the way up here. Doesn't mean the price is going to not go up anymore. No, things can keep going up on bearish divergence, but they're starting to have some signs of a little bit of tiredness here. So be a little bit wary as you go up close to some of these fib levels up here above. Things can be you can get rejected here, and you can end up going for a lot of opportunity calls and things like that, especially if it's still going up a little bit on bearish divergence. But if you ask me, I think that this thing has enough juice to kind of push through probably to the 1.618 here, to be honest with you. Nobody knows how where the top is for something like this. I'm not going to be able to call the top. Nobody can, right? But I'm seeing a little tiny bit signs of trend exhaustion here. I would be a little bit more cautious on the way up here, but I also cannot deny that this is a very, very nice bull trend. Even the weekly Bollinger Band is expanding. So probably some bullish continuation. Watch us for some of the levels up here above. How high does it go? Nobody really knows. Not very helpful, probably. But nobody can time the top. That's just a reality. I think I might call today a little tiny bit early, just because I think we've kind of exhausted a lot of the chart requests here. And I talked about like the macro, I talked about Bitcoin, talked about also a live stream earlier with the great Masby here too. So yeah, I might call today a little bit early here. Bitcoin looks like it's just not behaving very well, but again, it's still stuck in range, right? It's kind of underneath this arc over here, but you got the angle down below, and all this could just be a wick for the week. The candle doesn't close until tomorrow, so we'll see what kind of shenanigans they want to play. Still stuck in the arc here. I don't have much else. We're just going to keep an eye on it. Do I think altcoin season is coming? Yeah, I still think altcoin season is coming. I still think this is a little bit of a falling free pattern. A lot of people are saying Bitcoin dominance to the moon now, but it's got a little bit of different behavior here. I was telling the great Masby earlier too, where initially you have this big giant green candle here, a few smaller red candle followed by a big giant green candle, right? These rising free patterns. Now you have the reverse. You have a bearish engulfing candle here in November, and over the last 3 months, it's just been trying to break through this bearish engulfing candle. It's just having a hard time doing it. Unfortunately, on February 1st, there's a big move here. So it's probably getting a lot of people really scared right here. But I just think that this is a little bit of a different look compared to here. I think we might be potentially starting a little bit of a bear trend here. We'll see whether or not that turns out to be the case. KWEB. You ask KWEB. I do KWEB. KWEB is very nice, actually. I actually like the fact that there's a high volume bullish engulfing candle, right? Just right around when tariff news came out on Friday. So don't be surprised if there's going to be a little bit of a flush for the Chinese market as early as early next week. But even I was just monitoring like KWEB on Friday, it only went down 3.6%. Nobody really seems to care on the long run anyway. So I don't actually know it was going to just end up going down. Like it didn't really break the market structure here at all. It's still going up on the back end of a rising 20-month moving average. It was able to flip it from resistance here to support, right? There's really not much like scary things here that I'm seeing. It still looked like it wants to turn into a bull trend here. So I don't have a whole lot of things to say. It did get rejected here at the 0.382, right? It did find support here, a rising 20, so I think it's going to go up and re-challenge that again. And if you're asking me for a target, I guess the bottom over here like $17. The top, like the top over here is around like 34. I'm not good at math because I'm Asian, but I'm gonna try. If you do 17 times 3, right, that's 51. So 51 is gonna be close to 52. That's gonna be the target up here. It's just gonna be a 0.618. Before it gets there, it has a thick cloud that it needs to push through. So you might end up having some resistance over here too. But the target of this little bit of like an Adam Eve pattern over here is going to be 0.618. So, woo! Anything else? Anything else? No? No? Last minute top off chart request, guys? Nothing? You got nothing for me? You gonna let me go early? You gonna let me go early? Yeah, you're gonna let me go early. There's not a whole lot of people here tonight. I think I only got like 34 people here. It happens. Some nights I just get a lot more views. Some nights I just don't. But yeah, I'm gonna end the show early, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Maybe not staring at the Bitcoin chart here. Go out there and touch some grass. The weather is turning nice again, so you guys take care of yourselves and have a wonderful night and have a wonderful weekend, right? Bye.